Welcome to the Recipe. I go by the name Red. Now, recently on the Recipe Entertainment Podcast, I did this very same video you're about to watch as a headline. But I feel like I can articulate my point a lot better than what I did in that headline. That was, just a small part in a bigger show. I feel like, this topic deserved a little bit more thought, a little bit more detailed opinions, and that's what I want to do here. So for my patron who feel like, didn't you talk about this already? Yeah, I did, but I got a lot more to say on the topic, so think of this as a remix of sort. So with that being said, let's get into it. Now I can start this by asking you a simple question. Nintendo gamer, Xbox gamer, PlayStation gamer, what was the last controller you used to play the last game that you played on your console of choice? I'll answer that for you real quick. It was a DualShock controller, pretty much. The last time the standard controller was upgraded was a DualShock controller. Now, has there been upgrades since? Yeah. Are those upgrades used in a meaningful way to the point where I shouldn't say, yeah, no, I think that's the exact perfect reaction to the idea of how motion controls have been utilized in games, to how the touchpad on the PlayStation has been utilized in games. New things there? Sure. They being used like that? Eh. Nintendo, motion controls, do they utilize it a lot? Absolutely. They genuinely do. They're the ones who introduced it. I think that's where maybe we should start then. That's where we'll start then. I mean, we can start a little bit early and talk about the joystick and the giant red button on the Atari, but no, let's start right after that. The D-pad, two face buttons. Let's fast forward a bit. Wait, you want to leave already? You don't want to talk about weird touchpads and power gloves and zappers that came bundled in the box? I mean, we could. I just did, but let's fast forward a bit. Super Nintendo, the diamond. The diamond standard, not the gold standard, the diamond standard takes form. X and Y are here. A and B are no longer alone, and L and R have arrived. Shoulder buttons. This is awesome. Don't forget, Super Scopes. Oh, I won't. Just mentioned it. But there's competition now, right? Sega had their little three face buttons. They was like, yeah, that diamond shape is killing us. The sweat in Mortal Kombat, yeah, that was fun in games, but Street Fighter and stuff is on home consoles now. Those controls is killing us. We need something. They added the six face buttons. They said we're gonna bring the arcade home. They got some shoulder buttons. They got the face buttons. Nice, but there was more competition. PlayStation would be around, and what did they do? Well, Nintendo kinda did it. There was a, hey, here's the upgraded Super Nintendo controller. It got grip and all that. You got your diamond shape. We got two extra buttons there. You know what I'm saying? That deal fell through. Sony was like, yeah, we still gonna do that. They did that. But it was just like, it's a Super Nintendo controller. They didn't see what was coming. Star Fox with Rumble. There's a Rumble pack now? Oh my God. But wait, what's that little, oh, that's an analog stick to move Mario around in a 3D space? This is gonna change the game. Sony was like, then we gonna do two. And that changed the game completely. They added two, and that became the standard for so many. And that's where it ended. But that's not the truth, right? The truth is that the year would become 2006, would become like 2013 and stuff. And what we would have in between that time, we would have balance boards, Wii remote and nunchucks, bowling in your living room, playing tennis in your living room, sword fights in your living room, going through giant, spaceships in your living room with controls that you've never experienced anywhere else, speaker and the controller yipping, yapping at you and all of that. A lot of stuff, putting control to your ear to get phone calls. A lot was going on. And on the handheld side, we were looking at 3D video games without glasses while the cinemas were pushing 3D on us with glasses. What year is it? I know it wasn't 2024. A lot happened, but now it's 2024. See, you might have felt like, man, you just discredited a lot of PlayStation stuff. I did not. Let's go back. If you think I discredited what they did, you're wrong. They added two analog sticks. That became the standard. While on PlayStation 1, the two analog sticks weren't really used for first-person shooters like that. On PlayStation 2, boom. Now, you know how we control first-person shooters to this day. I love the Wii Remote and Nunchuck. Let me just say, new ways to play on the screen came, and it was multiple choice. You could use a regular analog stick, or you could play with a Wii Remote and Nunchuck. It was nice to have the option. Now we don't really have that option. But anyway, my point is to say this: PlayStation came, did what they did, and Xbox came and copied the same exact controller, the DualShock, which is what? An upgraded Super Nintendo controller with learnings from the 64 controller, with learnings from who? Nintendo. Obviously, I can even pinpoint the analog sticks on the GameCube controller. Then eventually those will come to, obviously Xbox will have it. Then eventually PlayStation will have it. The point is, you could detail a lot, right? That'll sound like console war rhetoric. PlayStation shitted on most controls for a whole year, then showed up to E3 with PlayStation 3, like, oh, look, 6-axis, giant enemy crab, get 2 jobs. Remember, that's reality, right? But they added the most control to the DualShock. They continue to clown the Wii Remote, and the players clown the Wii Remote. And then they came out with the Move, right? Move is kind of still utilized for years and years with VR and things like that. Sony trying VR. That popped his head out again. I just mentioned Virtual Boy earlier. VR never really takes off like that. And the Move really doesn't get supported like that. The Wii Remote got supported in everything. All the genres in the world was supporting that controller because it was the mainline controller. But the point is, this is not about, oh, look, they copying. Yeah, now there's, oh, they're going to make a handheld. You can just say, oh, yeah, it's just a PSP. Or, no, they're making a handheld because the idea of Xbox creating a handheld that's open like a ROG Ally that has Xbox on it, PC, but it's actually being pushed by them, is a dangerous prospect when it's like, yeah, so you can get God of War next to this, next to that, which you can already do on PC. It's not that big of a deal. But Sony's probably like, yo, if you're going to do that, then we're going to do that too. So then our handheld has Game Pass on there. Boom. And it's like, yeah. And I'm like, great. Who cares? Here's the point. People cry about that. People cried about a lot of stuff throughout all of this. I didn't really pinpoint that, but I wanted to get to that just to say none of this has to do with console war. It has to do with copying led to the standard becoming the standard. Copying isn't always bad. It's really only bad for fanboy nonsense. But in reality, it creates standards. It moves the medium forward if everybody is on board. It creates complete new ways to play, new genres even. That's what Analog Stick did. That's what Shoulder Buttons did. That's what the Diamond Shape did. That's what More Power did. All those things married together created new. And there was a time where everything had to be new. And nostalgia was basically Super Mario All-Stars collection. Because there was really nothing else to be nostalgic about. But now everything is nostalgia. And everything is about power. And for many of you, that is enough. Hence why you don't see people call Nintendo's next hardware next generation Nintendo system. Or the next generation of Nintendo hardware. Not even that. You look around and everybody's calling it, me half the time, Super Nintendo Switch. Other people, Nintendo Switch 2. The next Switch. Super Switch. People calling it all kinds of stuff. But really talking about it with bass in their chest and saying the next gen Nintendo hardware isn't really mentioned. And why is that? Because nobody expects it to be next gen due to what? Power. But what if it comes with a brand new way to play? Wouldn't that make it next gen? Because it's playing like nothing from the previous generation, so it's the next thing? Huh? Wouldn't it? I think it does. But here's the thing. The title of this video, right? The title of this is basically, I'd rather have an innovative failure than have a safe, standard success. Now, many of you would disagree with that, right? Now, I would say to you, that title makes no sense. So, if that title had you in your feelings before you even listened to this and got to this point, let me ask you a question. What is an innovative failure? Because I don't feel like in my heart from the games that I played, from the way those games are still talked about to this day versus their competition where a lot of the stuff isn't really even brought up like that. I think 64 was not a failure. I think 64 was a great console, a great success with incredible new ways to play video games that literally fathered the way many games will play in the future. Games like Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, those mechanics are still impactful today in the same way what Metroid did. It's still impactful today for so many games in that genre that it also fathered, or should I say, mothered. Man, I'm just being genuine here. Where's the failure? Because if the 64 was a failure, it's to say that you weren't there. Because, well, your 64 had all kinds of cool features. Oh yeah, Pokemon. Stadium 2. Remember connecting your Game Boy games? And then playing your Pokemon Gold and Silver on your TV? Ooh. That's wild. That was crazy, right? Handheld on the TV. Obviously, Super Game Boys and things like that. We could talk about it, but I just want you to understand. There was a handheld there, Game Boy. I just wanted to bring it up because they even connected to the 64. And they had Pokemon games that was doing crazy numbers and Mario games that was doing crazy numbers. It also included Metroid 2, yes, mainline Metroid games. Nintendo has always had their handhelds that included mainline games. When you hear Zelda fans talk about Zelda, we don't just talk about 3D Zelda. No, we talk about the timeline, and the timeline includes everything, ages and seasons worth of games. See what I did there? Of course you did, because you're a Zelda fan. You a nerd, just like me. Look. I'm telling you this to tell you this. I'm telling you this to reiterate this point. 3DS, 3D, no glasses. That did almost 80 million. Wii U did 13. Put that together. Does that feel like a failure? And that was with no third-party support. Now, you could sit here and be like, yeah, but look, you could add 50 million basically on top of that, and that's where the Switch is at right now. And I would say, yeah, that's great. But are we going to act like 100 million piece of hardware moved to customers is not good? Because that's very good. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's very, very, very good. Incredible, in fact. 64 with Game Boy Advance, insane numbers. Wii and DS. Do the math. People like to talk about, oh yeah, console generation sales and this is the best selling. Yeah. What they did in the generation, how much games did they make? How much hardware did they move? And they wasn't just selling you stuff that they weren't going to actually support. No, they were supporting these pieces of hardware. Some could say one better than the other, and I would say I don't disagree with you. Not at all. But still, support. Either way, and innovative software throughout all these generations. So when innovation happened, there was always the thing that I always call the safety net, the handheld. While the handheld was innovative too in the space of handheld gaming, of course, right? You had things like Street Pass and all this cool stuff that they were doing. They weren't just sleeping. Again, 3D without glasses. There was analog sticks there and stuff. Different kinds of analog sticks, but they were analog sticks there. Hell, there was even copying there. There was a PlayStation Portable at a point. They were doing their thing. So them coming back around, circling back, it's nothing new. It's nothing surprising. The hybrid thing that Nintendo did, of course, what I said it was going to lead to, a lot more of those. Nintendo's next hardware should be innovative. Why? Because they're not going to be in the blue ocean like they were this generation. No, it's going to be completely red. There's going to be ROG Allies, like I've been saying now for months. There's going to be Xbox handhelds. There's going to be Steam Decks. There's going to be PlayStation handhelds out there. That's just what it is. This is why I always was saying Xbox is smart to just have this stuff everywhere, because this is the way people going about playing anyway. So if you want to have an Xbox in your pocket, which is your phone, bam, you good. You understand? Like, I'm just saying all this to say, what people consider to be their failures because they were doing all this weird stuff, I saw as generations filled with incredible games, fun, and wonder. Complete wonder of wondering, man, how that's going to play with this, and what are they going to do, and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, do I still have that with Nintendo games? Of course. I'm always wondering, oh, look, it could be, at the end of the day, just an upgraded GameCube controller, right? A DualShock. It could just be that. But I'm going to know that they're going to use most controls and do things like that. Like when I threw Cappy Hat, I was 90% I'm doing that, with most controls, making the 360 around me and all that. Like in Mario Odyssey, that's awesome. That's great stuff. And then obviously the mechanics and the way they design the games, they're always trying to do different things with that. I understand. But man, having new ways to play a video game was always crucial to this thing growing. And now people want the safe. People want the standard. People hear things like this and be like, this is blasphemy. They got to just not rock the boat. They got to name this thing 2. Nintendo Switch 2. Do the same old, same old. So then it's DualShock. And now we're doing numbers. So then we just PlayStation, with just better first party games that are actually exclusive and not being released in other places. Actually a walled off garden. Like that's basically what we're asking for. And I'm like, is that exciting? It's not to me. It doesn't excite me. I have no hype based off other people's hype about the Switch because their hype levels is, oh, it's just a more stronger Switch and yeah, new games. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Like I expect a stronger Nintendo piece of hardware. And I expect new games. But what I've always also come to expect was new ways to interact with my games, the way my games are going to feel, how the user connects to the brand new gaming interface that manipulates the games on the screen, that then leads to games being designed different because, well, if every player has this thing in their hand, we can design the games around that and not worry about, oh, no, wait, this is something we're selling on the side, so you still got to design the games for this. So nobody's going to design the game completely with Xbox Elite controllers in mind and back paddles because that's not the actual Xbox controller. But the Wii Remote and Nunchuck was. The analog stick was the 64 controller. The shoulder buttons and the diamond shape was the Super Nintendo controller. And those all led to what you deemed, stop right there. That's the standard. That's perfect. We don't need no more. We are good. What? Wow. This thing is young. This thing is real young. And the crucial part of what makes Nintendo to me, as a person who's been playing since the NES, is the new things that they add. Them trying to literally get everybody to copy them and then say this is the new standard. So while I could sit here and say, yeah, they copy the Switch, the hybrid nature, yeah, but the Switch is just the home console and the handheld. It just feels like I only had to buy one thing this time. That's what it feels like. As new as many want to feel, oh yeah, the Switch is, yeah, like it doesn't really feel like that. Like what people, it's this new great, yeah, it's the handheld and the home console. And I didn't have to buy a Super Game Boy or some contraption that connects to my 64 controller in order to play on the screen. Nah, I ain't have to buy. I'm good. That's what it was. And it's awesome and it's amazing. I'm not taking nothing away from that. You know what's also awesome and amazing? And I never take nothing away from? All the crap that Xbox is doing with how you buy your game and now you got a cloud version and like all of that stuff is good. You got a PC version. You bought it once and you got all these different versions of a game. That's awesome. I love that. That's my favorite thing of this generation. That's revolutionary. The fact that I don't got to give you multiple dollars in order to get multiple versions of your game. You buy one, you got it. It's not like elsewhere where you buy Spider-Man and you got to go over there and buy Spider-Man again. And that's not shade. That's just the reality of what it is, right? You bought that game on PC. Well, if you want to play, like on Steam, you want to play it on, yeah, well, it didn't have smart delivery, so yeah, you don't got that. But smart delivery was incredible. It's an incredible thing. And there's a lot more companies doing it because Xbox is doing it, which is good, So I like that feature. It's an awesome feature. It's very much like the Switch where it lets me play anywhere without having to pick up and unplug something. It's like, oh, you want to take it on the go? You can go. Yeah, you got, you're going to travel, whatever. Yeah, you don't even need to take an Xbox. I can access it on the go. All I need is this Fire Stick. Like, yeah, all that stuff is awesome. And everybody copying that, no matter how slow they're doing it, because Sony is clearly doing it, copying it, and they're just going way slow about it and doing it in a way more cash grabby way where they're not just like, oh yeah, you know what, you got the game on PlayStation. You not even letting, you're demanding people to sign into PSN on PC, then you know what they got. You know my account. Put the green light check on. Oh yeah, he owned that game on PlayStation, so you got Spider-Man on PC. It's as simple as that. But they don't. You know what I mean? Why? Maybe because more people aren't doing it and it's not the standard. And why is it not the standard? It should be because it's nothing but positive for you, the customer. But instead of people crying about, what's the point of the console? Exclusive this, exclusive that. Don't worry about it. Everything working out. How you got less console sold than PlayStation, but more people playing Call of Duty on your box? than on PlayStation. So while you sitting there pocket watching the richest company in the world, it's just weird. You're like, yo, why are you going into this console war stuff? No, I'm going into it because this is the stuff that people talk about. They sit there and they clown innovation. They clown revolutionary features that you yourself are going to be utilizing. And if your favorite was doing it right now, you'll be championing it. But instead, they want to be scared. Everything is about being scared of change. Oh, Nintendo, don't rock the boat. Don't do nothing new. Oh, Nintendo can't go and make another home console. Oh, Nintendo can't make a powerful console. Oh, Nintendo actually sells more games right now, man, than anybody that's boxed and first party, I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight up. I'm not even talking engagement because everybody want to talk sales. Because if we talk engagement, I'm not going to sit there and talk about the 500 million guys over there. Because then they don't like that. They don't get, no, don't. All right, fine, I won't. But I'm going to say Nintendo actually sells mad hardware, not at a loss, like Xbox and PlayStation. They sell a ton of first-party games, not at a loss. Where 2 weeks later, they're $20, $40, $30. Wait, you just started at 70. Why are you 40 already? 2 weeks in. Hold on, let me go check Mario Kart. Game's over 10 years. Oh yeah, still full price. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be player's choice or anything like that. Of course, I'm just giving you the reality of the situation, right? The reality of the situation is they make a ton of money. And yet everybody sits there and be like, oh, they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't do this, they can't do that. Oh yeah, if they do something too shaky, they can have another Wii U situation. I'm like, that Wii U situation that you guys like to paint involves the idea that the Switch actually isn't what it is. Like I just said, like while the Switch, especially was cool, they did a hybrid. I would look at it like, yeah, but it's just it's just less money to be spent, which is cool. I got both. I got my home console and I got the handle. I'm good to go. I didn't need to get a 3DS and a Wii U like before. I'm straight. So do you understand what that actually is? That's all the Nintendo players all in one place playing that hardware. There is no Wii U scenario that can happen when this is the offering. This is the place to play the next already announced Pokemon games, the next Mario games, the next Smash Brothers Mario Karts, the next Xenoblade games, the next Metroid games, Kirby games. You understand what I'm saying? The next Zelda games, like this thing is the thing that you gotta buy. There's no other choices for everybody. But like, you know what? I'm gonna skip this. I'm gonna just get this for my Nintendo games because I get Pokemon here and I get Zelda games here and Mario games here. I don't need to get that other console. I got real 3D Zelda games on this 3DS. I got 3D Land. I got Ocarina of Time. I got Link Between Worlds. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting Metroid 2 remakes and the list goes on. Real Smash Brothers games, Mario Kart 7, which was like, oh my god, incredible. So those fans are still going to be fans. Now, you might say, yeah, but still there's 50 million more Switches sold than Wii U and 3DSs, combined sales. And I would say, yeah. And that's because Nintendo made a lot of the right games. That's because Nintendo unifying all on one piece of hardware. You might say, oh no, it's because they got third-party support, so more people were just happy with that console. I would say they got a lot of good indie support. Most third parties still made most of their money outside of Nintendo ecosystem. Most of these giant publishers. Did they support it? Absolutely. But they supported it based off the reality of what it was. It was a console put out by Nintendo, made successful by Zelda, made successful by Mario Kart, made successful by Splatoon, Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade, and then they follow suit. That's what really happened. Did it have some stuff with old games? Yeah, like Skyrim. That's nothing new to Nintendo hardware. People pretending like, hey, we're going to support it. And it's like, but that old game? Anything new? The new stuff came because, well, the hardware justified. People are buying games, indie games, which Nintendo started on WiiWare with and just continue to build on. And you had Yacht Club Games find all their success on the failure that was the Wii U. And then continue to find success on the Switch. And they continue to be successful making big 3D games and all that now. Yeah. A lot of that was Nintendo did a lot of the right plays all throughout the Wii U with the amiibos and everything. And even games like Mario Kart and Zelda that were Wii U games. They made bigger and better, bolder choices leading into that generation, which worked. So I look at it like this idea of if Nintendo does something new, they won't get games because developers won't want to support that controller. Well, Nintendo would tell developers back then, this is our controller, please make games for it. If they didn't make games for it, they didn't make games for it, right? And they just kept on making their innovative games and showing the industry, yeah, look how awesome this is. Look how great this is. Remember, not everybody supported the 64 controller, but everybody now makes video games with rumble and analog sticks. Just letting you know. A lot of the same people who clown Wii Remote and Nunchuck are right now trying to push VR unsuccessfully onto people, which basically uses a variation of that kind of control. Obviously in a whole different situation, but still that, right? It's just funny. Like, put this thing on your face and da-da-da. That's not too much. But asking to put a little sensor bar on top of your TV and play with this controller. Oh, it's the worst thing in the world. Waggle this, waggle that. I'm bringing all this up to paint this very, very vivid picture of the way I see things. To just want this standard, I don't get excited for, hey, look, PlayStation Pro. It's a stronger PlayStation. I know, it's just, looking at PlayStation Pro, I just see PlayStation 6. And then PlayStation 6 tomorrow, I'm like, that's 7. And I said the same thing before with the PlayStation and the series, well, not the series, the One X, but even, it's like, yeah, it's just stronger. Then you get to PlayStation 5, it's like, yeah, it's just a PlayStation Pro stronger. Literally playing mad PlayStation 4 games. It's not that's the truth. And then Series X, same stuff, right? Obviously. And then it's like, yo, we're over 4 years into the generation. When do we cut the cord? Like, why Call of Duty still being made for PlayStation 4? Oh, well, there's a giant install base there. Well, stop and make them move to the next thing. Like, that was what we used to do. And people just normalize that. They don't, nah, it's all good. It's all good. I'm like, no, it's not. Because Xbox could literally be like, yeah, nah, we good. We done. And people are like, wait, so what? You're not going to develop? Because, I mean, they own it now. This is what I would do. I would say, yeah, we're done. We're not making PlayStation 4 versions. Oh, you cutting money off. Now we just got to push the envelope. We got to push things forward. You know what I'm saying? Really put the pedal to the metal on Series and PlayStation 5. Sorry, guys. If you want to play, and you're on the last gen hardware, you should have made a smarter decision and got an Xbox, because you could play that on Game Pass through the cloud on an old Xbox. That's the only way you're going to get it on last generation hardware. I just bring that up because, I mean, it just goes with what I'm saying. People hate that, but that's the truth. Their awesome decisions, their awesome way of you having your games across so many things, the most revolutionary feature I feel of this generation, made it so that I can make that statement right there. I couldn't make that statement a few years ago, and that's awesome because that should become a standard. That should become normal because that's awesome, bro. Buying once and owning in multiple places and having that kind of freedom to say, I don't need to get a next generation console. I could just sit here and wait. You're like, yo, what does that have to do with innovation and revolutionary? Well, it is innovation. It is revolutionary. And it isn't really winning a generation per se when it comes to moving boxes. Oh, but it's definitely winning when it comes to engagement and generating money. So all the ha-has and laughing don't mean nothing. Time and time again, this industry has shown that going against the grain, where people don't think it should be done, isn't the way to go. It leads to, again, that blue ocean strategy was real. It leads to you being the only one there, and then they're like, yeah, 500 million active users. People get mad like, well, that don't mean nothing. Nah, it does. When they're eating off that plate, and they made that choice going into the generation, they told you out loud, it ain't a secret, they ain't hidden, this is what we doing. Oh, y'all suck, y'all gonna kill this, y'all ruining this is not what Xbox was. Yeah, I get it, yeah. But they're reaping the benefits now in this generation more than any generation prior. This is their most successful generation. That is a fact. Now, I bring all that up, again, to go back to the point. Those features, those choices that they made, which are revolutionary, I don't know, they might not say it in the spaces where you listen to it, but around these parts, I bring it up all the time because it is, right? Has shown to work. And they got more gamers playing Xbox than ever before. You gotta go against even what people think is the normal, even if it shakes their foundation of nostalgia. It's good to bring in new controls and stuff like that. Like, you can say whatever you want about the Switch. The Wii U sold over 100, what was it? Damn near like 120 million systems. Like, it sold a lot. Not the Wii U, the Wii. So, did I say Wii U or Wii? The Wii. The Wii sold over 100 million systems. The 3DS, I'm all generated. Look, the Wii and the DS both generated over 100 million in a single generation. Both. And I think it was something closer to 250 million, honestly, between the two. So when people want to talk about, oh, yeah, PlayStation 260, yeah, that's nice. That's what they did in one generation. That's cool. Look what Nintendo did in one. almost 250 million people gaming, right? And they did it how? With a dual screen that everybody thought was gonna lose to the standard controller, and it's a screen and standard regular games and It's gonna win. It's gonna win. And they got smoked. PSP got smoked. Again, this is not console war, anything. I'm just bringing up the truth, the reality, whether people want to hear it or not. This is the reality. Time and time again, this medium has shown that it finds its most success when things feel new and wondrous and creative. And the Switch doing what it did, yes, marrying both the home console and the handheld together as one thing was ballsy, but also for many people, it just made perfect sense and was super appealing and felt like it was something they never experienced before, even though I just mentioned things like Super Game Boy, where it's like we've kind of already had this experience in the past. Yeah, but you couldn't take your home console with you on the go. And it was like, yeah, you're correct. You know what I mean? Even though there was those doofy things which people still use, attach a screen to your console in order to travel with it, you know? Thank God for new features that now, you know, your games, you own in multiple places. You don't really need a dual anymore. But anyway, you know, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. And I understand that. So the standard is always going to be the hit that people want. Now let's talk about that real quick, right? Nostalgia, right? Because I've always said I'm the nostalgia guy. I like nostalgia, but I don't even want to talk about nostalgia. Let's just talk about nostalgia real quick. Nostalgia, in the terms of the high you get. The high you get is, man, that brings me back to my childhood. Man, I remember, you know, the old one. Man, I can't wait to play the new one. I can't wait to feel the feelings I did when I enjoyed that thing back in the day. I hope it's as good as that thing from back in the day. Yeah, I'm excited they're making a new one. That's the emotion. When something is brand new, so we're talking new ways to play, new features, you're going to look at that and be like, man, that looks appealing, especially if it looks appealing, right? And I can't even wrap my head around it, like that new thing. Yo, I gotta like get my hands on it and see what that's gonna be like, because that's crazy. I can only imagine how playing that thing with that thing is gonna actually be. Like, the potential is there. Your mind start making up things, you know, of how this thing can be, how this thing can go. And you don't know until you actually see it. But man, it just starts making your head run wild with, you know, ideas like, man, that thing is cool. You know, it's interesting. I want to learn more about it. It's just awesome to hit the high from something new. I feel like it's always going to be better than the nostalgia one, because the nostalgia is something from a place of comfort. The new thing there's a danger to it because it's new. You don't really know, so it's like, yeah, you're learning at the same time. All of that makes it scary and uncomfortable, you know. So then you're like, this is new. This is, you know, something that is not the norm, something that I can't look back on in order to get a reference point for this thing, you know. And even if there was, where it's like, oh, it's kind of like this thing, but it's different. So if it is kind of like something else, there's a little sprinkle of nostalgia there also, with the dangers that might make you even comfortable jumping into the thing, you know. So there's levels to new things that just, I feel like nostalgia isn't really ever going to be able to match, you know. Like, I don't know if that described the feeling perfectly, but I'm just trying to give you where I'm at. Like, truly, like, it's like seeing a pool in front of you. You know, you're usually seeing ground in front of you. So when you see that body of water and it's like, oh, it's a pool, you get excited, you know, you get hype, and then you're like, oh, wait, but I'm a little bit nervous because what if the water's cold? Hold on, let me dip my toe. Oh, you know, that's you already, like, you know, I want to try, I want to feel, I want to, oh, and then you jump in and now you're having mad fun. And that's not the element that you used to being in. But then you get comfortable and you don't want to get out the water all day. You want to, yo, I wish I could live here. You know what I'm saying? I wish I was a creature of the sea. Like, that's what you're going to feel like. You know, hopefully that makes more sense. But new is incredible. And if I was guaranteed, like, oh yeah, the next Nintendo hardware is going to be something new, I would be mad excited for the Switch. Like, I'm just excited for the Switch successor for... Look, I just called it a Switch, right? Because that's basically what it's going to be, just stronger. But I'm excited for the Switch successor, the next generation Switch, for next generation Nintendo games on new, you know, hardware, more beautiful graphics, better detailed, expansive worlds, new gameplay design, things that they couldn't do with the limited power of the current Switch. All of that stuff, because I know that's what Nintendo does. So yes, I'm 100% excited for it. Yes, 100%. I'm 100% still excited for it. But man, You're like, there's nothing higher than 100. I know, but still, I would be even more. I'd be 150% excited. No, I would be. It'd be a different feeling than excited. Like, oh, you're just regular excited for new Nintendo games. Like maybe the word intrigued, and even scared is a good word too. See, like, oh man, I hope people like this new thing. I hope they like this new idea. I hope it works for them, because it would be scary thoughts running through my mind. Like, listen, if they're gonna do a hybrid thing with a bunch of new ideas, that's not just a Switch 2, but something that feels revolutionary and new, with new controls and things that are gonna be forced on developers that they're gonna have to utilize, because, well, here's the controller we're giving every player to use. That would be a scary prospect, because, well, there isn't anything for them to fall back on. Granted, Nintendo could just throw out a new device and be like, yeah, this is a new thing. Screw that, like they did the Virtual Boy. But it would still be a scary thing, because this wouldn't be like, oh yeah, this home console isn't doing so well. But then you got the handheld, just a trail of fire. That's how, great it's doing. Like, it wouldn't be that situation. So this failure would be like, yeah, that's it. Nintendo this generation failed as a whole, And Nintendo really doesn't do, innovative failures like in the title. It's innovative generations that are successful, and then the media likes to spin and turn into the worst thing ever. Could hardware has sold better and da da da? Yeah, but they still made a ton of money. They still did enough to survive, even when they weren't getting third party support like that. They always did their thing. I don't know if the worst Nintendo years, I feel like I can comfortably say, but I'm gonna just say I don't know. But I feel like I could comfortably say that PlayStation and Xbox probably couldn't survive. Well, Xbox obviously, they got money beyond belief, but I just feel like they wouldn't survive. That it don't even got nothing to do with the money. They just wouldn't survive that kind of generation. You know what I'm saying? Their ego will be so bruised that they'll be like, yeah, you know what? We out. We leaving the gaming industry. Like a Stadia situation or something like that. and Nintendo was like, oh nah, that's nothing. We took that on the chin. We still was chilling over here. Like we still knocked out all the competition that generation. You ain't look at the numbers. You ain't look at the profit. Well, if you think we lost, if you think it was a failure, that's what you think. But you couldn't be more wrong. And that's what I'm basically saying. They're innovative generations of years and years of creativity that would bring so much cool ideas that literally had me like, yo, why does 2006 to like 2015 almost sound more revolutionary and more futuristic than the current times? Like, wait, what? You mean there was a handheld with no glasses but 3D? Like, yeah, bro. You be walking in the Metroid game, and you can literally see depths in the damn corridors. Like, yo, that's crazy, bro. Like, yeah, man, it was wild. Like things like that. Like, it's like that's sick. But yeah, now we're in this moment where if I mention, oh yeah, what if they added a 3D screen, making the handheld mode more enticing for players like myself who really doesn't use handheld mode, right? I want to see Metroid Prime 4 Corridors in 3D, like at a 3D screen. A lot of people are, oh no, that will up the cost, da da da. Like, if these consoles are gonna be crazy expensive, give us all the features they can give us, And my whole thing is I only live once. And in my lifetime, I want to continue to experience new ways of play, new things. I don't just want this now where it's a, hey, get excited about a graphics card upgrade. And it's like, no. I never once got hyped for, oh, yo, NVIDIA's new car. And no disrespect to PC gamers. I know that's a normal thing for y'all. Yo, get hype. Don't get hype at all. Like, yo, what's the next thing? I was like, hope my 4070 could last me a good long while. But I'm not sitting there hyping up the next card and like, yeah, I don't. It's just graphical upgrade. One day I'll be like, yeah, it's time to upgrade. But it's just that. So it's like I can't sit there and be, oh yeah, yo, the next Xbox. And what gets me excited about Xbox is the way they treat me as a customer, the way I buy their games, and how they sit within their ecosystem, which is spread out like crazy, versus buying games elsewhere. And it's just like it's tied to that, and that's it. Don't you dare ask for anything more. Like, so it's like, yeah, how are they gonna push forward compatibility, backwards compatibility, all of that stuff. That's what excites me. People like sitting around like foaming out the mouth for the new Nintendo console, and it's just for a graphical bump. God bless y'all. But I'm cut from the whole different Nintendo cloth, and the cloth that I'm cut from is the cloth that I'm not sure they're cut from anymore. And again, this is not hating. They said it themselves. Furukawa recently mentioned, like, yeah, we don't want to, make things too shaky for our third party partners. I'm like, see, that's the thing. Y'all didn't do that before. Y'all ain't care before. Y'all made the games that basically there was people within Nintendo who's still there who designed video games, right? And they really designed video games. They were like, now you know what? How cool would it be if we had this little thing right here in order to be able to design the game like this? So then they literally molded what the hardware needed to be for their software. And then through that and their cool ideas, they were like, yeah, everybody with this added, they'll be able to create cool things, even go further than what we thinking of, hopefully. So let's introduce this. Let's put this in every player's hand. Every developer has these new tools. So not only do you get a graphical bump in those tool sets, but you get new tool sets in the way you control and use those graphics with the controls and teach players new way to play and create maybe new elements or new dynamics to every and any single genre out there. That's what Nintendo basically did, and that's the cloth that I'm cut from. So when I say I'd rather innovative, giant air quotes, failure, yeah, if that's the way you look at it, fine. But I don't look at it like that. I look at it like the best times, and it's not about nostalgia. Because while it's now nostalgic to ask for Nintendo to shake it up a bit, you know, it's not about nostalgia. It's about wanting new ways to experience nostalgic things. So I get that nostalgia. What I get from Echoes of Wisdom, which is this is top down Zelda. This is Zelda NES. This is Zelda. It is. It's starring Zelda finally, which I've wanted for literally 3 decades, and man, it's so good because it plays nothing like other Zelda games. It's completely new, and the way you can tackle things, go about things, it's incredible. It's more open than any of the other top-down Zelda games. It's awesome. It's nostalgic, but it's new, and that's nostalgia for you. And yeah, imagine having more new ways to play and things like that. Remember Four Swords Adventures connecting 4 different screens and all of that stuff? That was just them trying new things. That's what I like to see. And people are too quick to be like, oh, Nintendo still do that. They did, the Mario Kart in your house with the actual cards, and they did Labo, and they did, a Ring Fit. And it's like, yeah, none of those things are what I'm talking about. If you think that's what I'm talking about, if you think that's Nintendo only, that's an aspect of Nintendo. That's the balance board. And the balance board was utilized even more than those things because it worked across multiple games, not just Wii Fit. And yeah, those things aren't the analog stick. They aren't the rumble. They aren't the shoulder buttons. They aren't the diamond shape. They aren't any of those things. Those are cool ideas that shows Nintendo, the toy company, what they do is so, wow, that they can utilize aspect of their hardware to do these creative things. Of course, Labo was designed super early in the Switch life. This is the reason why the IR pointer is pointing in a direction that only that game could utilize. Instead of us getting the balance board and still getting Wii Remote pointing at the screen, which would have been great in many games. But instead, don't ask developers to add other control methods. They got to do it with keyboard and mouse, and they all do it happily when they put their games on PC. But asking them to do something else, you're not even asking them to do what they used to do between Sega and Super Nintendo, which is make completely different versions of the games. Just asking them to, hey, look, you can put an innovative control style here, innovative spin on your game, or make your game far more comfortable on our hardware versus that hardware, which in turn would make them come out with a mid-gen control upgrade, because it's been done multiple times by PlayStation that'll then standardize those features. Then you get better games and I get better games and we have better games and the media moves forward with more better and creative ways to play because of those ideas. You understand? So when I say I want an innovative failure over the successful boring standard, yeah, I mean that with my whole heart. I'm sorry because I am actually a Nintendo fan. Not saying that you're not. I'm just saying I'm one of the Nintendo fans who actually wasn't ashamed of the supposed failure years. At least that's what it feels like nowadays. I'm not afraid of a name change. I'm not afraid of rocking the boat. Yes, this was successful. That doesn't mean that we need the Switch to be the Switch. Okay, Nintendo's not Nintendo no more. They're just the Switch company now. In the future, people are going to call, Switch? They're not even going to know what Nintendo is. They're Switch? Nah, we don't need that. We can switch the name. I don't need an Xbox Series and another letter. Name it Xbox, whatever the hell, and I'll be perfectly happy with that too. In the same way, like, don't need Sony to continue with numbers. If they want to change it and rock the boat, cool too. Maybe they got something cool, something different. Who cares? Go ahead. But again, to many people, that's blasphemy. But I'm not talking about Xbox and PlayStation. I'm talking about Nintendo specifically. The ones who always challenge the norm. Always found new blue waters to traverse and not just did what everybody else was doing. It's funny, and this is going to be the last point I make. No matter what podcast you listen to, no matter what discourse you see that involves all of video games, you're always going to hear someone say, oh yeah, but Nintendo's over there, they doing their own thing whenever Nintendo's brought into the conversation. Oh yeah, Nintendo be in their own world. And it implies that Nintendo's doing something so drastically different. There's PlayStation portals now. People can take their PlayStation games on the go. I don't got to bring up the Xbox stuff already. Y'all already know how I feel about it. Y'all already know it exists. Everything is an Xbox, right? But Nintendo is the one with weaker hardware and the same controls. Literally as PlayStation. Hell, PlayStation got a speaker and they got the touch. So technically it has more features than Nintendo's Pro Controller. Now, obviously, the Switch Joy-Cons are a little bit different because they split and you can use them as multiple controls. So those got more features. But still, you get my point. They are basically the same controller. If anything, Xbox over there doing their own thing with their game distribution and their controller with no motion controls. No HD Rumble. Like PlayStation has their version of HD Rumble. So Xbox is the one really doing their own thing, technically. But no, they always say, yeah, Nintendo's over there doing their own thing. And I'm like, their own thing is then, okay, a hybrid. That's their identity currently. But now, everybody's jumping into those blue waters already. The waters is already orangey. It's going to be fully red in like a year and a half. And that includes their new hardware in the water with their old hardware and trying to entice people to go over to their new hardware. Thank God for Mario Kart. And damn it, I know we all have the conversations of what should they number Mario Kart. I'm like, in reality, yes, it's Mario Kart 10 if you go by the way Nintendo always did their games and the way they treat their handheld games like mainline entries. They don't act like, oh no, that's a second-class citizen version of the game. Nah, it's the mainline entry. You want to play Metroid numbered entries, they're going to be 2D, not 3D. Sorry, you could be more hype for Prime, but Dread is where the story's at right now, So that's what they do. So you would think, yeah, that's Mario Kart 9, they're going to come with 10. But oh my God, Nintendo, no. And this, while I'm like, again, they don't need to call it 9, but for the sake of getting people to migrate, maybe the hardware don't got to be called 2. But damn it, Mario Kart, I don't think you should go 10. I think you should go Mario Kart 9, 100%, because that's what the world needs to see in order to be like, oh, okay, let me go get the new one. So anyway, back to my damn point so I could wrap this up. Nintendo's over there doing their own thing. I don't see it. Their own thing, I see Nintendo playing it very safe for now, multiple generations, really. While there's been trickles of things here, they've been very much trying to keep it where it's like, oh, let's do things around the standard controls and not really fidget with things too much. Even the Joy-Cons are standard controls, and lack features like I just said about, the IR pointer and Wii remote style pointing at the screen, whatever. Look, I'm bringing all this up to say that if they were actually off doing their own thing, that would be actually great. But the truth is, the same ones who say that are the same ones who are like, Nintendo better not do their own thing. Hell no, they better not do their own thing. They better do exactly this. A Switch 2, they'd be idiots if they don't do a Switch 2. I don't even wonder if it's not called Super Nintendo Switch and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I've been calling it Super Nintendo Switch since before the Switch even came out, just to be clear. And even that, I expect, when I say super, I don't mean power. I mean shoulder buttons, diamond face, buttons. Changed the game. It was super. It wasn't just, oh no, super, it means strength. No, it was also strength and smarts. Not just power. It's not all about power. You could be powerful and still get outsmarted. All that power meant nothing without the smarts. You were deceived. The smaller guy was cunning because he was smart. So anyway, the Super and Super Nintendo Switch for me is a brand new generation with brand new ideas and brand new ways to experience. You're gonna launch a brand new Nintendo hardware with a brand new 3D Mario game that's gonna include Donkey Kong. You're gonna launch with new Mario. Like, yeah. I would like you to say, yeah, and here's this controller to play that brand new Mario game. So we feel nostalgia. What's nostalgic about it? It's like Mario 64 and an analog stick all over again. But it's a new thing. It's not an analog stick, and it's a brand new game. It's not a Mario 64 remake. It's everything I can possibly want. It's Nintendo being Nintendo. That's all I want. Why do all four got to be the same? And I say four. When that's a lie now, Luna exists. A lot of different devices exist. ROG Ally is a whole different thing that exists. So why do all of them have to be the same? Oh, because, well, look, all of them exist. So now that's the norm. And I'm like, well, a lot of things exist. A lot of things. Jaguars existed. And you know what Nintendo thought? That's nice, very powerful, very expensive. We don't care. We gonna come with the wit. We gonna come with the smarts. We gonna come with the cunning. We gonna come with the skills. And we're gonna come with good enough power. And that's what they did. And they won. And they're still around. Just saying. We've seen other console manufacturers, other people. We've seen N-Gages, TurboGrafx 16s. We've seen all kinds of stuff. And Nintendo was still Nintendo. And then things that they did would still become standardized. Normalized throughout history. So I don't feel gaming is done. Evolving, changing, growing, wowing us, revolutionizing the medium. Filling our heads with wonder when we see something revealed, because how is it going to play with this new controller? And I mean, even after we already got the device and I was in our crib and we like, yo, I haven't played, and you named the genre, a FPS with this, a RTS with this, a RPG with this, a platformer with this, just name a racing game, a fighting game, new kinds of genres, new kinds of video games. Like, man, that's awesome. Yeah, I want that world. I enjoy that world. I like the danger of it all. This might all sound scary. It might be like, yeah, they shouldn't do that. They should play it safe. They were safe before too. Again, 3DS and Wii U made a lot of money. Amiibos made didn't it generate over, like, what? I think it was way over $1 billion that Amiibos generated. So yeah, success came all throughout that generation. Let's not forget the last time that they had a E3. What happened? Nintendo went there with one game. And just the hype surrounding this game being also available potentially on the next hardware had everybody run for miles. Not miles, but still run to get online and wait a ton of hours in order to get their hands on that game. That was all in that generation where people would like to label it a failure. That game would come out and literally make that franchise more popular than ever. Grow it. And even, in my opinion, open the doors to games like Elden Ring finding even more success because more people were just brought into that genre, into that realm, wanted more like that. And I'm not taking that away from Elden Ring. I'm saying a lot of games had a lot to do with open world games getting to where they're going. Zelda being one of them for years. And then Zelda did what it did and did crazy numbers. And it's been incredible to see. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, the way I see it is, they never lose when people claim, oh, yo, they were losing, they were dead. No, they were just trying things. And sometimes you're going to try things, you're going to swing, you're going to miss. And sometimes you'll swing, miss. But then, you step back from the plate, swing the bat around a bit. And then you go again. And you might strike out again. But then that third one, grand slam. And it's out of there. Gone. Out the stadium. Ain't nobody getting that ball. It ain't going to be signed in the future. They never found it. It's out of there. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's my take on it. That's my take. This Nintendo fan here is looking forward to being surprised by the next Nintendo hardware. I'm also looking forward to being disappointed by the prospect of nothing truly new from it. And when that disappointment does come out, you as a subscriber, I expect you to understand because, well, you sat through an hour of me explaining exactly where my mind is at when it comes to new Nintendo hardware. I want actual new hardware and not just a power bump. Because for me in 2024, a person who's gone through all these generations, there's nothing exciting about the next PlayStation, the next Xbox, the next Nintendo stronger graphics card. I'm not going to say there's nothing exciting. Yes, it is always exciting to get a new generation, but it's not like, oh my God, it's just not that. It's like, cool, the new generation, games are going to look better, run hopefully better, you know? And that's it. That's not, where's the conversation of, yeah, I'm not going to sit there, yo, it's going to be this older, like, that's cool for people who do spec nonsense. Oh, look at our spec, look at your specs. Yeah, they're still going to be weaker than the PC, bro. Who cares? And does your specs matter? I don't care about your specs. I care about respect. Like, you gonna go buy that over there for 70, I'm gonna go buy this. Nah, I'm gonna play this in Game Pass, and whenever I do buy it, then I own it in multiple places. That I care way more about than power. At this point, what is your ecosystem doing actually to make it even worth it? You know what I'm saying? If y'all all gonna be the same, then it's all gonna be about ecosystem. And in that regard, well, there's a reason why they got 500 million active users and nobody else does, and nobody else even comes close. I didn't want to end it on that, but I just wanted to end it on, that was a revolutionary feature that changed things. So now I expect them to change. So when I hear, Furukawa go, oh, yeah, we're going to have, backwards compatibility, I'm like, cool. But then the little detail he threw in there about, we'll like to talk more about that and the details of it later. I'm like, that could be nothing. That could be a giant nothing burger. Of, oh yeah, look at, here it is, the real, the hardware. And you could put the carts in. And for those of you who download the games, you can download your games. That's the extent of it. But it could also be, oh yeah, we've had this deal with NVIDIA for 20 years since it's a 20-year deal. So since there's no question about who's going to be, manufacturing our thing, there's no bidding war or anything like that. They just build on what we were doing already, and so games are going to look better moving forward, and things like that. So it's going to have forward compatibility. Like when you play your backwards compatible games, they're going to run better. They're going to look better, basically similar things to Auto HDR, FBS. And I'll be like, yeah, that's awesome. Because I love FPS boost and Auto HDR. And that's a great feature that I love. And I've been screaming it from rooftop. So when they do it, I'm like, that's a win. They introduce something, now everybody else is doing it. That's a W. So I just look at it like, that's exciting to be like, yeah, backwards compatibility is going to be a thing. Great. But there's still no word yet on why does this device need to exist. And if you don't get what I mean, like if you think, oh, you basically asking why new Nintendo hardware needs to exist, that's a dumb question. Like, it's not a dumb question if you're a genuine Nintendo fan. Understand. Why would we make a new Star Fox game? Why would we make an F-Zero game? Like, yeah, we don't have any ideas for those games, so we're not making them. Like, and we need a purpose for those games to exist, because to make the same old thing again doesn't make any sense. We've heard Nintendo say that a ton of times. Miyamoto specifically has said that a ton of times about Nintendo, that they want to make new games with new ideas. Sometimes they'll come up with a new idea and then go, you know what IP would be perfect for that? And that'll bring a dormant IP back. But a lot of the times it's not like, oh yeah, you love GX, we're just going to make another one. Even though that one failed, we're just going to keep doing that again. Nah, they're not. We're going to have to come up with a new idea, something that's going to be awesome, that we feel could grow this IP, and then we'll try again, right? That's what they're doing. So that's always been their MO. It's to add new things to what we already like, and then justify it existing, justify us paying for that new thing with newness, not just, oh, it's stronger and the buttons feel better because, well, they're a different shape now. Maybe they're a little bigger. Maybe they're a little smaller. Like, I'm talking game-changing features. That's what Nintendo was always about. So for me, that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking at the upcoming next generation of Nintendo hardware. For me, it's not just about a power bump. For me, it's about changing the game. And Nintendo being Nintendo. Because I really do miss that aspect of Nintendo a whole lot. And I think they made all the right moves coming from Wii U to Switch, truly. And I think the next move with all this success is to flip the script on these guys. They all coming. They're all coming. They're all about to jump in. So you might as well throw a kitchen. I'm telling you, when you hear Sony and Xbox say, "Yeah, we're gonna do a handheld," but yeah, it's gonna take us a few years. Yeah, the few years is waiting to see what exactly it is that Nintendo's gonna do, and if they do something crazy, or if they just do the same old thing. If they do the same old thing, you're gonna see those things come super early into the next Nintendo hardware's generation. But if they do something wild, then it's gonna take a minute. They're gonna take because they gotta understand, they gotta figure it out, and da da da. And then if we put it on the handheld, then we gotta utilize it. So that means now Gears E Day and the next Halo, and oh man, so we gotta now learn the know-how of that new thing that they added. It's gonna take a minute, so they might as well. It'd be better, more beneficial for them. And again, it'd be way better and beneficial for me as a fan of this medium called video games. I want to see it grow. I want to see it evolve. Man, I want the new generation to not grow up thinking of standards and thinking about, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be, the way it's supposed to go. No, I want them to live in the world that I lived in, man, where it was just every single generation, every few years, you was getting something new, something that was blowing your mind, something that was making this medium expand beyond belief. Like, yo, I can't believe we're here. And it wasn't all just graphics. Graphics was a part of it. But Mario 64, the graphics, yeah, while it blew our minds, that wasn't the thing that totally blew our minds. It was how we played that game and running around in 3D space. And people claim that, oh yeah, you can't remimic that again. I feel that they did in 2006. I feel that they did. And I feel like they can again and again and again and again, and it doesn't need to stop just because this medium got bigger and there's more players involved. So now we gotta pander to everybody, and oh yeah, no, let's make everybody's life way easier. Don't rock the boat. Somebody has to do it in order to grow it. And I'm done. Thanks for tuning in. Until the next one, peace.